This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbelo Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The queen, the cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American dream! Dusty Rhodes! Too sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this. He's having it all. I don't believe it.
What is going on there, Reflection Knights? What is going on there to the Vito-ites, the dispensary HAMIN-ites, and the probationary solitary confinement PWC-ites? What is going on to the left, the right, the Dems, the Republics, all over the world? What's going on to the Magnificent Seven, the Elite Eight, the Naughty Nine? You know who you are. What's going on to the ites on the PWS Superior YouTube channel? You know what? I'm getting like one here new subscriber a week, 2 new subscribers a week, 3 new subscribers a week. I do count TW as a subscriber. I do count JB as a subscriber, but they're coming onto my channel. I've been having a YouTube channel for like, 10 years? And this year, 2025, is the year that the subscribers are coming to my channel. My God, what a clusterfuck it is. But it's a great clusterfuck. People are coming to the PWS PROF YouTube channel to engage in the nostalgia that is the PWR podcast here at the HAMIN Media Group at PodBean.com. But before we go on to this episode 194, Donnie, we're 6 away. We are 6 away from that elusive 200. I still don't even know what we're going to do, but that's on JB and that's on TW because they are in charge of the 200th episode. It's on them. They're going to do whatever show they want. They're going to do whatever format it is. I'm just going to be talent. I ain't going to say shit. It's going to be them. Probably JB, you're going to host the 200th episode. You up for that? It's on you, man.
It's going to be us. The episode's going to be WrestleMania 1 through 40.
Oh hell no, man.
First ever 24-hour podcast. 24-hour show.
I love you guys, but I cannot spend 24 hours with you two guys. But anyway, neither here nor there. I must introduce myself because I am vain like that. I must introduce myself because I get younger when I introduce myself and get the grays out of my chin, the grays out of my pews, the grays out of my ears. I am the effervescent one. I am the scholarly one. But most importantly, I am the glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this Twitter sphere. The only objective man in this political hemisphere. Your friend of mine, the Professor Chalbelo Veracruz. And not here alone. No. I am here with my 2 brothers for life. First, let's introduce the HVAC king of South Florida. The man who sells air conditioners out the yin-yang in the Florida Keys. The man who sold one to LeBron James before he went to LA. The one who sold to Alonzo Mourning. The man who sold it to John Gruden before he went crazy and went to Las Vegas and all that shit. Your friend of mine, the prodigal one himself. JB, what's going on, my friend?
What's going on, Professor? What is going on TW? What is going on in Reflectionites? Got a fun show planned for today, for sure.
And of course, the liberal conservative dum-dum doer, idiot song, the iron stomach one, Dr. Frankenstein, Mr. Wonderful, and the 2025 Hall of Famer from the War Promotion and the undisputed, undeniable Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world, Tommy Wonder. Congratulations on that, accomplishment. Well overdue. 2025 Hall of Famer. Colin, Colin Wysong, I told you I was going to introduce him as the Hall of Famer. And from this point on, I will introduce him on every PWR podcast as the Hall of Famer, Tommy Wonder. What's going on, my friend?
Two-time Hall of Famer, brother.
I stand corrected, Colin. Two-time Hall of Famer, Tommy Wonder.
Yeah, and I should probably put them plaques up somewhere because I got the Michigan one from, I believe, 2009. 2009 or 10, because my twins were in a wheelchair in a stroller, and my oldest was like 3 or 4. Nope, 4 or 5. Anyway, this one was cool because you guys have heard me talk about Lima, Ohio. It's absolutely my 3 favorite places to wrestle ever are Lima, Ohio, and all the little podunk towns around them. Taylor, Michigan, and LaSalle, Ontario, Canada. That's where I started. LaSalle is a Canadian little small town there that they cheered the good guy, they booed the bad guy. Lima, they cheered the good guy, booed the bad guy. And Taylor, if you were a good guy, good luck, because you were getting booed in no time. I think I told this story. When they formed Los Rudos with me and Rico, I was told you're going to be heels for about 2 months. By the 3rd month, they're going to be cheering for you. And I'm like, why do you say that? He goes, you'll see. And we did nothing but heel shit. By the 3rd month, we were the most popular people in Michigan. And it just carried on. And it's tough being a bad guy, good guy, because you're supposed to shake their hands and kiss their babies, but then they're going to not like you. So we just kept doing our heel shit, but we did it to other heels. So that's what made them cheer us. And in Lima...
Wait, hold on for a second. JB, would you want to be the bad guy or the good guy? Do you want to kiss the babies, or do you want to slap the shit out of those marks in the front row?
Batter is always better, in my opinion.
Right.
I hear that. Go ahead, TW. I'm sorry about that.
So the story I told in my speech was... I was a bad guy there. I love being a bad guy, but to be fair, I was awesome at it. It wasn't like I just was a bad guy because I didn't want to be a good guy. It was both. I was really, really good at being a bad guy, but I did not want to be a good guy. Like it just wasn't me. And so my buddy Craig Morris.
Hold up for a second, TW. We got a run in right now. I gotta add him to this call.
Gotta be Colin.
It is Colin Wysong.
I knew it.
He has infiltrated, and I don't know.
He's been tipped over.
He either tipped over or he's on the toilet. He used his ass to press the button, but hit
and run.
Maybe it was an accident.
It's like a typical JB Friday night hit and run.
Go ahead, TW. I'm trying to add him to the call.
So I come out to the ring. They cheer for me in this one corner. And I'm like, I don't understand that. And I don't know if I ever told the story about the Mountie with me, my buddies Dennis and Bob, where we sang a song the entire match versus Bret Hart. And all through the match, he would come and do this to us to get us to start singing again. And at the very end of it, he turned on us after he lost to Bret and told us we were the reason he lost, screw you, blah, blah, blah. So he left a heel, right? So when these guys cheered for me, I did that. I was like, yeah. And then I'm pretty sure I didn't lose, but then I told them, I didn't need you guys, blah, 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 blah. The next month, there's people cheering me in this corner. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then finally, the 3rd month, I'm in the back. The promoter, Wayne, says, hey, man, you're a heel. Stop getting cheered. And I go, dude, I'm telling these people that if they don't shut up, I'm going to shut them up the hard way and start grabbing at my zipper. I don't know how much more heel I can be. And this is in front of families, whatever. He's like, whatever. We're going to do something tonight to get you hated. I said, all right. So Brian Ireland, we called him Baby Benoit because he looked like Chris Benoit, physique and everything. He is the most popular guy on the card, right? He's wrestling Mr. Main Event, who is my all-time favorite indie wrestler. And Brian Ireland puts Mr. Main Event in a sleeper hold, and they send me out. I'm not part of Hot Seat Productions. I'm just a solo heel. I'm in no factions. I run out, get in the ring, and I hit Brian Ireland so hard with this title belt that it flies into the audience because I let go of it on accident.
And it hit a 5-year-old girl, right? Please let it hit a 5-year-old girl.
Well, it hit the same girl that Austin hit with the 4-wheeler, but she was 5 when I did it.
Gotcha.
And she grew up to get hit by the 4-wheeler. So I hit him.
That is dumb luck.
Silence.
It is.
And what happens right after the silence? The entire place erupts. And I'm like, what the fuck? So then I put Mr. Main Event's carcass on top of Brian Ireland's, get out of the ring. The referee turns around from being distracted, counts to 3. So now Mr. Main Event is the light heavyweight champion, and the crowd goes bananas again. And I just go, what the hell? So I go to the back, and Wayne goes, well, that's it. Starting next month, you're a babyface. And I'm like, I don't want to be a babyface. but I learned how to do it. Everything that I would say to a fan, I just said to the referee or my opponent, and everyone laughed like they did when I said it. Because, like, say JB, his brother, and a couple other guys go, and I start ripping JB the whole night, his brother and his friends are going to be cracking up because I'm laying into him, and that's what happened. And they end up just liking me because I was funny, and they consciously spread out so that all four corners had people cheering for me. And then, no offense to the wrestling industry, but the fans are kind of tribal, as you will. They're cheering for him, we're going to cheer for him too. So I end up becoming the most popular guy there. Never won heavyweight title.
Why don't you just kill somebody in the audience, and then you would have had heat?
Well, come on, man. If I'm being selfish, it felt awesome to be a dreaded heel that's popular. And
But I'm saying, ever since the late 80s and even into the 90s, fans gravitated towards
not in these little towns. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I loved about it. It was so fun to be a heel because these people were like, "Oh my goodness, did he really just say that?"
I think in the 90s, because there was the territories were dead and the indies
I know what you're saying. That's Taylor.
I think it depends. It depends on what city you're in.
97, 98. They're booing the bad guy, cheering the good guy still, but started cheering me because my buddy Craig, he became my friend eventually. I didn't know he did this until he told me years later. He purposely brought more people and spread out because he wanted, and he told me actually this weekend, he said, here's what happened. It was my first show, and I told myself, the first heel that comes out that's even remotely likable, that's it. I'm gonna dedicate my fandom to that guy and getting him cheered. And it was me. And I said, well, it probably helped that I was actually someone worth cheering on, and I was not the first match, by the way. I never was. I was always main event or sub main event there. But there's one Hall of Fame that has eluded me, and that is the Border City Wrestling Hall of Fame. I got an honorable mention at a show as a legend, and he put me on the screen, and I'm considered a legend in Border City, so I can come to all shows free, including MLP. But it wouldn't. I didn't think I wanted this Hall of Fame.
We already do it. 2026, the campaign starts. TW Border City Hall of Fame.
I spent more time with Scott D'Amore in the last month than I have in a long time, and I'm going to see him again in July. Plus, we're going to Tiger game. But anyway, the whole thing with the Hall of Fame in Lima, me, Travis, and his buddy Matt, who's now my buddy, and his buddy Dylan, who has since passed away, who became my buddy. We went in 13, 14, and 15. 2 of those 3 years, I inducted first Jimmy V, or the Outlaws, and then Jimmy V. He inducted his tag team partner. So the rib for the last, because this was number 13, the rib for the last 13 years is they were going to put everyone in except me and Travis. And over the 13 years, all of our buddies are in that Hall of Fame except me, him, my buddy Larry, and my partner Rico. They make sense because they have no presence on social media, out of sight, out of mind. Who's going to think about them, right? I didn't mention Rico in my speech, but what I did do, since Travis was nice enough to fly in, I made sure in my speech, I'll get emotional. At the end of my speech, I turned it into basically inducting Travis into it so that if nothing else, he stood on a stage in Lima, Ohio. I said so many nice things about him that people stood up and started clapping for him. And I was like, he at least got that if he never, and he swears he doesn't want to get put in, but I have a feeling next year they're going to ask him to go in.
Well,
how can they not? He lives with the guy that runs
everybody is humble. Nobody is selfish.
What was your guy's wrestling name again?
Tommy Wonder, and he was Travis Volts, but he was T Volts, not Travis Volts.
And what was Rico's name?
Rico Rodriguez.
Cool.
His real name's Tom Rodriguez, but me, him, and Cuckoo Tom Torres, all three of us were named Tom, and only one of them walked out of that school still called Tom, and you're looking at him.
Well, congratulations, TW.
Thank you, sir.
Well deserved and all that stuff. And again, 2026, Border City Wrestling, Scott D'Amore, get on your ass and make sure he's inducted to the Border City Hall of Fame. I'll induct TW into the Border City Hall of Fame. I offer my services.
Hey, you can stay at my house. We'll cross that border together, and then you'll get deported or something, but we'll try.
Yeah, it'd be worth getting deported.
Fuck it, bring JB with you. The three of us trying to cross the border, it's over. We're all three born and bred Americans.
But guys, speaking of Ohio, we got to talk about this particular episodic episode 194 because we are going to talk about the inaugural King of the Ring from JB's golden years. It's not 84 to 85, TW. It's 84 to 95. So this falls into that lump of his glory years, not glory hole years, but glory years of 1993 from Dayton, Ohio at the Nutter Center. And this, the concept of the King of the Ring Reflection Nights was not new in 1993 because they did the King of the Ring concept in the 80s. Actually, the first kind of King of the Ring concept was in 1985, which was called the Wrestling Classic, and there was 16. No, it was either 16 to 32 WWE superstars fighting for the Rolls Royce, and of course they had the heavyweight title between Hogan and Piper. But the King of the Ring concept, Reflection Nights, was more for a house show special because they did that in 86 and 87. I think Macho Man won one of those years, and I think Tito Santana won one of those years too. So forget the logistics, guys, but I'm just trying to give people the history about the King of the Ring happening in house shows during the 80s. But for pay-per-view purposes, this is the inaugural King of the Ring pay-per-view. So, the funny thing I'll say about the King of the Ring concept, guys, is, it was something that we could get excited for. It was tournament style. You could establish a new superstar on the horizon. That was, to me, the formula for the King of the Ring. If you needed that rocket ship boost, the King of the Ring tournament was perfect. The tournament style was perfect to get somebody to the next level. The tournament style was perfect to even accentuate new storylines into SummerSlam if you wanted to choose that dynamic in the Survivor Series and on and on and on. But something happened to the King of the Ring, and it lost its luster, it lost its magic and all that stuff. So I'm going to go to TW first, the Hall of Famer, the two-time Hall of Famer TW first, to say, King of the Ring, it started off with a bang, and we'll talk about the 1993 King of the Ring, but then it just lost its importance. It lost its luster. It lost its magic. I mean, in the last, let's say, 5 years, I can remember Xavier Woods winning the King of the Ring. I can remember Selena Vega winning the Queen of the Ring. And, they were excited to be that. And, I don't want to disrespect the legacy of the King of the Ring, but you know how it is. The fickle IWC, YWC, PWC punditries out there, they just don't give oh my God, TW loves getting DP'd, and now you got a picture of TW getting DP'd. All right, JB, good for you. But anyway, TW, Hall of Famer TW, what say you about the King of the Ring concept? Why did it lose its luster and magic?
So it's simple. I didn't know until today that the first one was in 93. The last one was in 2002, I think, of the original
the pay-per-view concept,
pay-per-view, and then they retired the pay-per-view. I would say it's obviously not the greatest thing in history, and it's only happened one time. We've talked about it on here, but a very well-regarded WrestleMania is WrestleMania 4 and having that tournament where Macho Man won the title, right? Mm-hmm. And the first 10 King of the Rings were all one-night tournaments. I think towards the end they tinkered around with it where it wasn't 8 guys anymore. It was like the final 4 and then whatever. But that's what changed. And just like Survivor Series, when it was teams of 5 strive to survive, it was awesome. Even when they went down to teams of 4, they made more teams because it was 4 people on each team. It was awesome. And then all of a sudden they're still having a pay-per-view called Survivor Series that doesn't have the Survivor Series match in it. So it's like, stop calling it that, right? But they keep the name around. And then when they brought back King of the Ring for Xavier Woods, like you said, I have his figure right here in the crown. Him, Vega, I can't remember who, Corbin won. They were all matches during SmackDown and Raw, and then the final was at the pay-per-view. And it's like, no, dude, that's not King of the Ring. The beauty in the 93, which, by the way, we'll talk about it, but it wasn't as good as I remembered it. But Brett was, right? But the rest of it, I thought it was a way better stacked card with each match or whatever. But a one-night tournament is exciting, and I'll talk about it when we're talking about the actual show. The things that Bret Hart did throughout the night are awesome. It's genius, and it would be like if you were watching a baseball doubleheader, right? Like what happened in game 1, when you play a game right after that, there's some fatigue, there's some this, that, and the other thing. So when you changed it from a one-night 8-guy tournament to either, like I said, towards the end, the final 4 and then the final 2, you take away all of its like even this one, you got the Yokozuna Hogan match, the tag team match. You didn't need all that. Just have a fucking tournament. That's it. And it was awesome. And I love how each match ended with a couple exceptions.
All right, JB, the floor is yours. I heard the phone ringing, so I applaud you for not answering your phone. But anyway,
that wasn't my phone.
Well, then the chicken's ready. But anyway, neither here nor there. So what say you, JB? I mean, were you a fan of the King of the Ring concept or what? You know, did it? That
was my phone ringing. It was a spam call.
Oh, I apologize. See, I'll admit I'm wrong. I apologize, JB, for accusing you of the phone thing. But anyway, neither here nor there. But what say you about the King of the Ring concept losing its luster and the magic?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when King of the Ring first came out, it was actually monumental when it came out because for the longest time we were used to the big four, and then here you go. Now we have a fifth pay-per-view. You know, as the story goes, Vince wanted a fifth pay-per-view. He wanted something around summertime, right before SummerSlam, and he wanted to be themed. Enter King of the Ring. I was a big fan of this. Number one, I'm a big fan of tournaments. Period. You know, in the sporting world, we all watch sports here. Sports always have, you know, you got the playoffs. You got whether it's college basketball or baseball or whatever, you have the playoffs. So it's tournament style. I've always been a big fan of tournaments. I know TW said WrestleMania 4 is highly regarded. That's actually not the case. For me, I love WrestleMania 4, but if you actually look at most people, they hate WrestleMania 4 for that same reason for tournaments. I don't think tournaments are highly regarded in wrestling. I disagree.
Donald Trump. That's it. It's TDS.
No, this is way before all that, but
he's still there.
Anyway, I disregard. I love WrestleMania 4. It's one of my favorite WrestleManias.
Why?
With that being said, King of the Ring 93 was great for me, and obviously I'm a huge Bret Hart mark, so everything that played out was huge.
JB, I just want to push back on what you're saying because the tournament style is highly regarded, let's say in Japan. The tournament style is highly regarded in Mexico. I think for America purposes, you are spot on with the tournament style. It could get a little bit tiresome, the fatigue like you're talking about, but if you do it right, and if there's story and there's investment to maybe somebody who needed that push, just like Bret Hart did here in 1993, you are engaged in this tournament style. I'm just saying that's just my humble opinion.
You're 100% correct. You know, Japan has the G1. Well, I've seen the G1. They have the I forgot what that junior. I don't know if they still do it anymore. They used to have like a junior,
the Super Juniors.
Right, the J Cup. Yeah. So those things were great. I've always been a big fan of tournaments, so it's not an issue. From whether it's WrestleMania 4, the King of the Rings, or even I think it was like what is it, Survivor Series '98? They had a tournament. Mm-hmm. What I don't like is when I think TW said it, when they went from having an 8-man tournament to like only showing the semifinals. I think that took away from it. And then I don't even think they're doing King of the Ring anymore. I think that's something that they're going away with, which sucks. Because I was always a big fan.
Because the last couple of years that they've done the King of the Ring, they've done it on Raws and SmackDowns, and then the final 4 is on a pay-per-view, like let's say in Saudi Arabia, where Gunther won and Nia Jax won, respectively. So, you know, they try to put some emphasis on the King of the Rings with title shots for SummerSlam. But, like you're saying, it's not the same thing like it used to be.
And I could be wrong, but I could have swore I read somewhere or saw somewhere that they're doing away with the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring altogether. So we're not going to get anymore, which it sucks. But the path that they were going down anyway, it was very watered down from what I remember it being from 93 to 98, 99, whatever. So it is what it is. But I'm going to have fun talking about this one.
Okay. And you know what, TW, before we get into this show in detail, this is in Dayton, Ohio at the Nutter Center. So I want to ask you, did you get tickets for this? Were you one of the photographers in the Hogan Yokozuna match? Because I was looking very, very closely at one of those trench coats because JB had like one of those Photoshop pictures. It looked like you as a photographer during the Hogan Yokozuna match.
2 years and 1 month later, I was in Dayton, Ohio for my one and only time there for the Great American Bash. And no, I was not there for King of the Ring.
Jesus.
This is the year I started training, but not till December.
Gotcha. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about, the stacked roster that was in this King of the Ring tournament reflection nights. We had Bret the Hitman Hart. We had Razor Ramon. We had Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. We had Mr. Hughes. We had Bam Bam Bigelow. We had Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We had Lex Luger, and we had Tatanka. That was your quarterfinals, guys. And you know, the funny thing, these are future Hall of Famers, and a couple are Hall of Famers here. So TW, what say you about the roster? Because you kind of said you like the roster, but I guess the match maybe results that was going on within the tournament might have caught you off guard. Reason, because before you even answer this, before you go on, I'm just gonna say this reflection. After rewatching King of the Ring 1993, guys, I found one thing funny. And we haven't seen this in fucking 30 years. And I challenge any reflection night to even dispute this. But for this King of the Ring pay-per-view in 1993 reflection nights, I counted roll-up small package finishes multiple times in this fucking pay-per-view. You do not see that in AEW. You do not see that in NXT. You do not see that in WWE. You do not see that in TNA today. You do not see multiple small packages, multiple roll-up for victories in a pay-per-view on a stacked card. That's what I took from this. Go ahead, TJ. I'm sorry.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's what you want. That's what makes it seem real, right? And so my memory, I just remember this being the night that Bret Hart worked Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect, and Bam Bam Bigelow in 3 matches. And I forgot the other half of that path that Bam Bam got there. I didn't realize Luger and Tatanka fought in it, and it was Broadway. I didn't realize Perfect fought Mr. Hughes, and he won by disqualification. Bam Bam beat Duggan clean. That was good. Duggan is the perfect first-round loser, right? If I were to book it, and I don't remember who all was there in 93, but instead of Mr. Hughes, but I get why he was in there, is because he was going to be in a program with The Undertaker, and you have him disqualified to protect him. You didn't need to protect Duggan. And then Luger and Tatanka, which is hilarious, because 2 years later, they're feuding over the $1 Million Corporation stuff as they're both baby faces and turn bad guys.
1 year later, TW, I'm sorry.
Oh, it was summer of 95?
Somewhere in 94. This is 93.
Okay, yeah. Right before we went back to WCW. So if it's me, I don't have Razor lose in the first round. I put Bret in there with 1, 2, 3 Kid, or Razor with 1, 2, 3 Kid, and Razor gets his win back, right? But the beauty of it is you got Bret versus Razor, you got Perfect versus Mr. Hughes. It's just what? Like what? Who even thought that looked good on paper? Perfect versus Luger would have been better than that, and Perfect is a baby face. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say something real quick. If you think about it for a second, though, Perfect and Mr. Hughes, I think that's a good matchup because, like you just said, Mr. Hughes is about to feud with Undertaker. You want him to have a good showing. Perfect is the best in the business, making guys look good. So I thought for what they were trying to do, I thought that was a good pairing.
Right, but my thing is here's what probably my selective memory tells me about King of the Ring. Your winners are Bret, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Owen Hart. Shawn never won one, did he?
No.
Steve Austin, Kurt Angle,
all these guys that won it are what we would call Intercontinental Champion holder material in the peak heyday of an Intercontinental title run, right? And Mr. Hughes is not one of those people. To be fair, neither is Bam Bam, which is why the thing that stood out the most for me, and I remember the most, is Bret versus Razor. Everyone knows that's going to be good. Bret versus Perfect. Everyone knows that's going to be good. Bret versus Bam looks like just a drizzling shits on paper, but much like Bam Bam versus what's his dick?
Hacksaw?
Huh?
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That's all.
Are you implying Bam Bam can't go?
No, just the styles. Bam Bam versus Lawrence Taylor. Everyone. Lawrence, and then Bam Bam goes out there and has a fucking barn burner with not only Lawrence Taylor but Bret Hart, and arguably one of the best matches was Bret versus Bam Bam in a night that he fought Shawn or Razor and Kurt in the same damn night. So my memory was just that half of the bracket. The other half of the bracket is kind of Bam Bam goes to the first round to the finals. I didn't like that. I prefer a 16-man tournament, and that I would accept. The qualifying in the Raws and the SmackDowns or whatever, and then I would have a Raw bracket, a SmackDown bracket, and the final
wait.
would be a Raw.
There was no
versus Raw.
SmackDown in '93.
Yeah, there was no SmackDown
they
in
brought
'93.
it back. Is what
Oh, okay.
They did that. That's
I
what
would
they
want
did.
a Raw
They
versus
did that.
SmackDown finale.
They did that for Gunther for when he won and Nia Jax when she won. They did the Raw. And
Yeah, but I
SmackDown
would want it
bracket.
on the same night. I would want the 16 round. You have.
Oh, you want it on pay-per-view? You want it on pay-per-view, not on
I want the
weekly.
final 8 on pay-per-view because I know you still got to have a title match or whatever, right? You got to have that, but you can still have the 8 guys because it's only 4, 5, 6, 7 matches, and then you have the title match, and then maybe little people match.
Let me just say this, guys, and you could agree or disagree all you want, but again, for at least 1993 purposes, Reflectionites, this pay-per-view was built for Bret Hart to get to the next level and to legit. Wait.
Yes,
He
it
already
was.
was world
Let me
champion. What do you mean next level?
Consolidate. Let me say what I gotta say before I mute you because I am the host of this. But anyway, neither here nor there. But this was to legitimize Bret the Hitman Hart.
Redeem.
You could call it redeem. You could say redemption, but it's not true. It's legitimizing Bret the Hitman Hart because again, the fans did not fully. And I will say this, they did not fully, let's say engage Bret Hart into believing that he was main event material, into believing he was world championship material. Yes, he had great matches.
In the
but
US
again,
and Canada, but around the world they did.
But again, that took until 95, 96, 97. You needed a jumping start point, and the King of the Ring was the jumping start point to solidify him into the main event level and for nobody to even question why is he in the main event picture? Why is he in the world title picture? This tournament, guys, the match he had with Razor Ramon, the match he had with Mr. Perfect, the match he had with Bam Bam Bigelow to overcome all the odds, and the way he won all 3 of those matches itself legitimized him. That's what I want to say. JB, you go first, retort, or have your own take.
So you guys, I'm not gonna be long-winded here, but what I want to do is obviously the King of the Ring in '93. We're going to talk about it. That's the meat and potatoes. But I want to set the table or bring out the appetizers, as Professor would say, if you will. So I just want to talk about leading up to this, and I don't know if TW knows this. Professor probably does, but I kind of want to because I've read Bret Hart's book, really good book, highly recommend if you haven't read it. I read Hogan's book, which 90% of it is probably bullshit. I've watched JR's show about King of the Ring. I watched Bruce Pritchard's show on King of the Ring, so I know a little bit about the behind the scenes stuff. So as the story goes, apparently Vince McMahon went to Bret Hart the night before WrestleMania 9, saying "Hey, we want you to drop the title to Yokozuna." That was news to Bret Hart. So Bret Hart, obviously being the guy, he was like, "Okay, I'll do it," but he kind of felt bad, and he's like, "Did I do something wrong?" They're like, "No." Anyway, he gets to the show at WrestleMania 9. Now they're telling him that this whole thing is gonna go from Yoko to Hulk Hogan. But the plan was, this is according to Bret Hart's book, the plan was that Hulk Hogan was gonna win the title at WrestleMania 9. They were gonna set up a match at SummerSlam of the same year, SummerSlam '93, to be Hogan versus Bret, where Bret would clean beat Hogan, and it'd be a passing of the torch. That's from Bret Hart's book. Hogan's book says at WrestleMania 9, he went to Vince and said, "Hey, I think it'd be better if I won the title, and then Yokozuna beat me back for it." And then Hulk Hogan was pretty much on his way out. They had the steroid scandal, and he was wanting to do shows, and he was doing what was that show called? Thunder? Yeah, Thunder Enter Paradise. So he's kind of on his way out. Vince McMahon agreed. You have different stories there. So now Bret Hart finds all this out, and at this point, Hulk Hogan and him want to get to the bottom of it. They both go to Vince's office and "Hey, what's the truth?" Vince, of course, being Vince, changed the whole story and says, "I never said that you and Hogan would fight for the title. I never." So there's a lot. Bret Hart started getting screwed from way before Montreal. Anyhow, we get what we get because of all that happening. This was, as TW said, sort of a redemption for Bret Hart. This whole King of the Ring was so Bret Hart could get back some limelight and get back into the good graces. He wins this thing. Spotlight is on him, setting him up for eventually what we're going to get at WrestleMania the following year, which is him winning. He wins Royal Rumble, then wins WrestleMania. But initially, for SummerSlam 93, it was supposed to be Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan. They even took promotional pictures with the title, doing a tug of war, but obviously Hogan pulled out. What Vince told Bret Hart was Hogan called the audible and said, "Hey, I don't want to lose to Bret." Hogan said he never said that. Who really knows what happened? But I just wanted to point it out. That's kind of what led up to this moment here at King of the Ring.
I'm not disputing. You can say it's redemption, all that stuff, but I'm just giving you from the fandom eyes. The fans did not believe in Bret Hart, and it just showed in WrestleMania 9. And it showed even in King of the Ring to a degree, because if the plan, like Bret Hart says, is all this stuff, then why did Jerry the King Lawler do what he did? Because they were setting that up with the little droplets on Wrestling Challenge. They were setting that up with the droplets of disrespect to the King of the Ring concept by Jerry Lawler on weekend TV. I'm just saying
at that point,
no. So
it was already winning the title back. The Bret stuff with Hogan was already dead.
So what they ended up telling Hogan that Hogan, I mean, they ended up telling Bret Hogan doesn't want to put him over. And actually Bret was really, and then they said at SummerSlam, you're going to fight Jerry Lawler instead.
By the way, I'm not defending Hogan. He's a lie.
No.
He's lied 90% of the time. We already know this. I'm just saying, but I'm just looking from the TV, what I saw as a fan. Again,
I'm just kind of
what it was going through.
Yeah, I'm just peeling behind the curtain. So actually, when Bret got to the King, when that whole thing happened at WrestleMania 9, Hulk Hogan said, "Brother, don't worry, I'll return the favor." Meaning, like at SummerSlam, the whole thing got messed up. So in the day of King of the Ring, they get to the arena. Bret goes to Hogan and it's like, "Yo, what happened?" And Hulk Hogan's like, "It's not my decision. It's Vince's decision," and all this bullshit. There's a funny story actually that Bret wrote in his book, and I think Bruce Pritchard confirmed this as well. He went in and he would always draw, like, because Bret Hart was a good drawer. He would always draw stuff. And he draw a picture of Hogan's ass and Brutus Beefcake all up in Hogan's ass. And it was a message to Brutus saying, "Be careful so the screws don't get loose in your face," which I thought was way overboard. But Bret was obviously pissed off. And then after King of the Ring, he went to Hogan and he was like, basically, "Fuck you." Like, he literally said that. He literally said, "Fuck you" to him. And
you're right.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It was really the initial screw job for Bret Hart. So TW, you keep saying it's redemption. Yes, you could say it's redemption for Bret Hart, but again, Bret Hart did not regain that title until 1994, and the stories on TV did not play out because he had to, go, climb the mountain, if you will, to at least get that brass ring once again. But what say you, TW?
Well, it was a slow burn, and if you go back to him too soon, then it looks contrived. Like, oh, we put it on Hogan, it didn't work. We took it off Hogan, put it right back on Bret, and Yokozuna's the stooge in between, the paper champion, right? And here's the big mistake they made. And for me to say this is going to be, well, I can say it because they fucking didn't do it anyway. But they tried doing the whole Hogan versus Yokozuna America red, white, and blue like they did with Slaughter, like they did with Sheik and Volkov, and it backfired. The fans didn't buy it, right? And then what do they do? As soon as they get rid of Hogan, buried him, by the way, in the backstage interview afterwards, in the ring, no one saved him. You know how I feel about
that. Was Hulk Hogan's idea, by the way.
I know, but he was gone. They buried him dead. But of course,
they didn't bury him. It was his idea.
Listen, I'm saying the character of Hulk Hogan was buried for 9 fucking years.
Oh, I see.
They brought him up. He was fucking ridiculed and mocked and called Huckster and Nacho Man. That's the only references to that guy for the next 10 years. But what do? They immediately fucking slap the red, white, and blue paint job on Lex Luger and try the same shit. And it worked with Lex, but then when they fucking didn't have him win, absolutely killed him. Put Luger dead in the water by not only having him win the fucking match by count out, but then making him look like a jackass and all the guys that came out to celebrate with him like they didn't know you couldn't win the title by count out. It was horrendous. So now, arguably the greatest finish in the history of Royal Rumble happens because of all of this.
Guys, isn't it fucking crazy that we're watching the narcissist Lex Luger versus Tatanka on this show, and in literally 3 weeks, he's the fucking face of the WWE?
Yep.
How
again? You
crazy
never.
Is that?
It is not only crazy; it just shows you
and
how
Razor turned face around then too.
Huh?
Well, Razor turned face
right
maybe about a month and a half later, give or take, on the Raw shows. But it's kind of funny as you say that, JB, because again, all the storylines, again, supposedly back then it was a year ahead. It's supposed to be you're booking till WrestleMania 10 and all that stuff, but you don't see that. Maybe Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson was like, you know what, we got like 4 or 5 pay-per-views now. Maybe we should slow build it for next year. But you have these carryovers to SummerSlam, the carryovers to Survivor Series, and all that stuff. But with that being said, within the tournament style, guys, we named the names, but the match that I liked the best, I'm not gonna say like the best, but it was just funny to me visually, was Bam Bam Bigelow and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And the only reason I find it funny is because Kurt Angle's gear was worn by Hacksaw Jim Duggan first. So Kurt Angle was passed the torch of the gear thanks to Hacksaw Jim. I'm looking at it like, wait a minute, that's Kurt Angle's gear. It actually looked
like Ken Patera singlet.
That's who it looked like. It was Ken Patera passed the torch to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who passed the torch to Kurt Angle. That shit was just funny to me. Again, the match was not a 5-star classic, but it was just funny to me just to see that. And you could tell, well, not only you can tell, but you knew that Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who was in the WWE from 1987, and now this is 1993. He had a good 6-year run and all that stuff. People bought the 2x4 plastic sticks and all that stuff on WWE.
At one point, he was the number 2 babyface of the company.
I don't know about number 2, maybe.
Come
but he was top 5. I'll give you that.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying at one point, like if you go back in the 80s, WrestleMania 1, he's got to be who's the number 2 babyface in the company.
He's not in there. WrestleMania 1. JYD, Hillbilly Jim.
No, not Hillbilly Jim.
Coco Beware.
No.
Remember the hierarchy. Well, JB, remember the hierarchy. Hogan was number 1, Savage was 2, and then that filter with
Babyface.
Yeah, Babyface.
Bro, no, I'm talking about in like 84. I'm talking about like 84, 85, like that time frame. 84 to 85, 86, that time frame.
Hogan and Tito, Hogan and Steamboat.
He was in the UWF. Remember, Hacksaw was in the UWF, not in the WWF until 87.
Yeah, he came at WrestleMania 3. We talked about this last week.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I'm fucking Bobos again.
I'm confusing him from Jimmy Snuka, my bad.
Yeah, Snuka
my bad.
I still think it's Steamboat.
To get you back laser focused, JB, in whatever tournament match you want to get more in depth with, what say you? What match caught your eye, or what wrestler caught your eye during this tournament besides Bret Hart? Because that's a little bit too easy. We already talked about it.
So I can't name a Bret Hart match.
I'll give you be condensed with Bret Hart, but at least give me something else. Give me some.
Okay, so
like Ryback said, feed me more.
Okay, so I think everyone's in agreement. Bret versus Mr. Perfect is the match of the night here. I don't think this match was better than their SummerSlam match. However, since I can't talk Bret Hart, I want to talk about Duggan versus Bam Bam. I know you just did, but the reason I'm bringing that up is something TW said. TW said he didn't like the fact that Bam Bam got a bye into the finals. But again, playing into psychology, if I'm a writer, I 1,000,000% book it the same way. And here's why. It's all the story of Bret. Bam Bam got an easy path to the finals, only had one match. Bret had to fight twice to get to the finals. It's just like WrestleMania 4. Macho Man had to fight 3 times to get to the finals. Ted DiBiase had a bye. I forgot. I think it was when I forgot what was it? I forgot how he got the bye, but he got a bye. Only had to fight twice to get to the finals. So it tells the story.
Hogan and Andre double disqualified.
There you go. That's exactly what it was. So it's just a storytelling thing. I thought it was. I love the fact that they did that. It gives even more credibility to Bret winning at the end. In terms of other matches, I agree with TW. Whereas I think they could have did without fucking Crush versus Shawn Michaels. Yep. They could have did without.
We got to talk about that. We got to talk about that.
We will. Yeah. And they could have did without the 8-man tag or whatever the fuck that was. But I know I'm not supposed to talk about Bret, but the beautiful thing, I can't help it. The beautiful thing.
I said condense it. I didn't say you can't. I just said condense it. That's all.
The beautiful thing about this pay-per-view, which you guys touched on a little bit earlier, is that all 3 matches he had, all 3 had separate finishes. Pat Patterson, for whatever reason, specifically told him before this event started, do not end any of your matches with the sharpshooter. And I love the way that all his matches ended. And not only that, in 2025, I'm watching a match and I see a finish. It literally means someone do their finisher. It literally means nothing to me.
Right.
Because I know there's about 20 other finishers coming. However, back in this event, there's not even finishers.
But JB, that's why I said this pay-per-view was intriguing to me, because multiple finishes, whether it was Brett or whatever, was with the roll-up, was with the small package.
Yeah, you get a reversal small package. You get a victory roll. You get a turn on the in the first match against Razor Ramon when he turned off the top. These are beautiful finishes. I don't know if Pat Patterson was doing Pat Patterson was doing the finishes back then, but it's just that the one thing that's missing from this the product today is that surprise element of when the match could be over. Back in the day, you could get a random fucking bulldog off the top rope and the match could be over. Like just a random move. Finishers.
Suplex. A belly to back suplex.
Yeah. Finishes used to be more intriguing back then. Now you got the guy that has to do
out of nowhere. That's why the RKO is the most popular thing, because it's fucking out of nowhere, just like a small package. Brett beats Razor,
but even the RKO
backwards off the top rope.
Even the RKO though, you see RKO 20 times in a match now. Everything is watered down.
But when he does it, if it's lights out, they love it. But every other person, like Hogan, he boots you to the face before he does the leg drop. Cena does the fucking belly to back before he does the 5-finger shuffle or whatever. Everything's got a fucking sequence. A small package doesn't.
And that's what I love, again, here about Brett. Most of these guys have their set moves, and you see the same finishes all the time, where this guy fought in 3 different times in the same night and gave you 3 different matches with 3 different finishes. Say what you want about just wrapping this up. Say what the fuck you want about Bret Hart and him being sour grapes, whatever. You cannot argue that this man at his peak was the best. During 1993, I would love to know who on planet Earth was a better wrestler than Bret Hart. Anyone in any promotion.
It's Shawn and Bret.
Shawn was not polished yet, bro. In 93, no fucking way.
Yeah. Bret's still the best ever to me. So Bret and Shawn are 1 and 1A. And
Ultimate Warrior.
And
people would knee pads and Lex Luger.
No, you're a clown show. I said there's a difference between who the best wrestler is and who my favorite wrestler is. My favorite song isn't the greatest song of all times.
What's your favorite song?
My favorite song of all time is "Never Say Goodbye" by Bon Jovi. But the greatest song.
Oh shit! My favorite song is "Living on a Prayer" by Bon Jovi.
Really?
We should go to a Bon Jovi concert,
dude, in New Jersey. Let's make it happen.
There you go.
But so I tell people
my favorite song is "Me So Horny" by 2 Live Crew.
I believe it, and that's how you get them dudes sliding them DMs. But hey, man. But anyway, Sting and Warrior are my 2 favorite as a fan. I don't think they're the best ever. They just got me.
Wait, now you're adding Sting? This is a first. We never.
Mount Rushmore, Sting, Luke.
No, we know that. We know this.
Warrior,
JB.
Bret, Shawn.
He's messing with
your Mount Rushmore is like 7 people.
No,
he's messing with you.
I have 2 that I think are the best to ever do it, and 2 that were like comic book heroes come to life that I'm a huge fan.
See what you did, JB? I knew you goated him. You goated him on that one. But anyway, neither here nor there. But TW, I leave you with the best match that you said of the King of the Ring tournament was the Narcissist Lex Luger and Tatanka, because you love that. You just said it. It was a 15-minute Broadway. What say you about that 15-minute Broadway match? Because actually, hold on for a second. Because actually,
motherfucker asked me a question.
No. But I want to say something.
He's gonna answer it for you.
I'm gonna answer for you too. But anyway, you're gonna agree anyway. But with this 15-minute Broadway, like you said, and I kind of agree. But you look at this match, and this was like almost an Easter egg, because Luger was acting very baby face-ish, if you will. Even asking for 5 minutes.
Pearl Harbor attack, and then at the end when he asked for 5 more minutes and hit him with the steel pipe in his arm.
That was funny shit. But go ahead, TW. What say you about the 15-minute Broadway?
It made Luger look bad. To me, obviously this is hindsight. I don't remember if Tatanka was even relevant anymore. I think it was past his.
He was undefeated still.
What are you?
He still was undefeated
for like fucking 3 years or some shit.
So he should have been the one against Mr. Well, yeah. You had to protect him. You had to protect Lex since he wasn't losing. So now it's starting to make it look like nobody gave a shit about Razor and Kurt.
What do you mean they didn't give a shit? Again, you just said this was a redemption story for Bret Hart. I said this legitimizes. But anyway, neither.
Kurt went to the semifinals. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Kurt got 1 win.
There's only 2 wins to get to the finals. And Razor Ramon, I know we all love Razor Ramon, as do I, but also think about it. He was still very young in his tenure at WWE.
Well, you know, people wanted him to get that rocket ship push, if you will, JB.
He main evented Royal Rumble 93 just a couple months before that. By the way, I want to ask you guys a question. I'm sorry to jump around here. This is just my opinion, but would you guys agree that King of the Ring was the best pay-per-view in 93? In WWE?
Yeah. That I can remember. No,
Royal Rumble 93 for the 93.
Bro.
What was SummerSlam?
Bro, Royal Rumble 93 was garbage. SummerSlam was Luger and Yokozuna.
I said for 93, that was the best pay-per-view for WWE. That was it.
Royal Rumble?
Yes.
Did you guys know that
Royal Rumble.
The Rockers beat the Barbarian and Haku by pin at a WrestleMania?
Yeah, WrestleMania 7.
We're not going backwards, man. We're not doing the marathon. We're not doing that marathon.
That was an amazing match, by the way.
We're not doing the marathon. But anyway, neither here.
Let's start talking about WrestleMania 7 now. No, I'm just kidding.
Hell to the no. But anyway, I have to acknowledge the flagship commentary team of Jim Ross, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Bobby the Brain Heenan, because for the 2 hours and 45 minutes, in my humble opinion, this was the best we would ever hear of Jim Ross on WWE programming until he got excommunicated to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, because again, Vince McMahon's ego caught him to the left and to the right, guys, because he did not like Jim Ross for some strange reason. He brought him in, but then he kicked him out. He fired him multiple times until 1996. I don't get the story. Maybe JB, you might hear some kayfabe commentary stories about this, but you hired this man, Jim Ross, to do some certain things. King of the Ring was either his final exam or just to showcase what he can do, but he was given carte blanche to do what he does best and be one of the best announcers in everybody's humble opinion, even though Gordon Soley is the master and ruler of the world. But anyway, neither here nor there. But
Bob
what say you, TW, about the commentary styles of Jim Ross, Macho Man, and Bobby the Brain Heenan?
This might hurt your feelings, brother. I never, ever, ever, ever liked Macho Man on commentary, ever.
It wasn't about him. It was about Jim Ross. But again, you had to bounce off
Ross and Heenan. I don't even have memories of them two together.
Yeah.
I like Jim Ross. I think Jim Ross is awesome. He's number 2 behind Bob Caudle. But yeah, I mean, I completely forget. It's funny you said something, because I was watching some old Smoky Mountain and Jim Ross was the commentator, and I'm like, what the fuck? Smoky Mountain started after Jim Ross got to WWF, and I forgot he used to get fired, brought back, fired. Then they had that, or was it WCW that had that guy with the cowboy hat that made fun of Jim Ross?
Yeah, well, that guy used to be a writer on WWE.
Yeah.
I forgot what his name.
Him and that Mexican guy, the
Ed Ferrara.
Dave Ferrara.
Ed Ferrara. Yeah.
Yep. And the Cuban Assassin was the other one. They both go there at the same time. Ed Ferrara and
what say you, JB, about the... That's not funny. I was just trying to get to the next question. But anyway, neither here nor there. But anyway, JB, what say you about the Jim Ross, Macho Man, and Bobby the Brain Heenan stuff?
Yeah, so first of all, I don't know what sort of fucking coke Randy Savage is on for this show, but I don't want to say I hated Randy Savage. Randy Savage was terrible.
He hated to do commentary himself. I
don't think his heart was ever in it. He did some decent stuff on earlier Raws and stuff like that. He did one thing he did say that caught my ear though. He said, which was just absolutely crazy, where he said the winner of the King of the Ring is as prestigious as winning the world title, which I think was just absolutely insane to say. I know he probably shot from the hip on that one. There's no way Vince is saying to say that in Gorilla. There's just no way. Regarding Jim Ross, I did see Jim Ross. I say a lot of Jim Ross as I listen to Jim Ross podcast, and one thing Jim Ross said was he enjoyed working with Bobby Heenan actually, and him and Bobby Heenan used to do the wrestling challenges back then. A lot of the voiceover stuff, it wasn't, wrestling challenge wasn't live, it was a syndicated show. They did a lot of the wrestling challenge back then. And obviously Jim Ross's debut was a couple months previous to this show, which was WrestleMania 9. And, we talk about like Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon always had a thing for like WCW commentators because they had that Southern accent. And fuck, nobody has more of a Southern accent than freaking Jim Ross. So I think Vince was never really high on him. But he still gave him a shot. And even in the earlier days, because one of the questions Jim Ross was asked was like, hey, we noticed you started talking about the Steiners and like what college they went to, and like Lex Luger played football.
Huge, yeah.
So that's like vintage Jim Ross, and they let him do that. Vince let him do that, which is something he never would have allowed in the past. But little by little, he was kind of like it was Jim Ross was wearing on him. But obviously, it would last for months, and something would happen. He get fucking fired like every couple of weeks until finally he was there for a while. But yeah, that I didn't have.
I keep saying it's kind of funny that you hired him in '93. It was a coup to get him. Don't get me wrong, from WCW, but then you don't utilize him. You don't utilize those talents. But again, Vince McMahon.
You mean from the executive? You mean from the executive stuff you're talking about? They didn't utilize him
from the announcing stuff.
Right.
He
was the number one guy in WCW.
So what he said was they brought him in really to replace Gorilla Monsoon because Gorilla Monsoon's health was deteriorating and he didn't want to travel and do all this shit. But like, bro, arguably, in my opinion, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, greatest duo in the history of wrestling commentary, to have to walk into that kind of shoes is big shoes to fill. Obviously, later on, he'd etch out his own thing with him and Jim Ross. I mean, with him and King. Yeah, exactly. They had their own thing, but he did credit Gorilla Monsoon and said he learned a lot from Gorilla Monsoon and also from Gene Okerlund. But it felt kind of off, him and Bobby Heenan, because I was so used to Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. But overall, it was all right. It's not like
I thought you were about to do the one-liner that Bobby Heenan did on this show.
Which was what?
When he kept saying people played college, whatever, and then Bobby Heenan goes, "Dude, do you know anyone that didn't go to college?" That's what I thought.
Because he says it about everyone. He says it about everyone. He said about, I think he said about Luger. He said about a couple different guys.
It was the Luger Tatanka match.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Heenan, or it might have been the
Steiner match.
The 8-man, the Steiners.
Yeah, he said about the Steiners as well.
And he said, "You know anybody that didn't go to college?" And it was hilarious.
Because he's a big Jim Ross is a gigantic Oklahoma Sooners fan.
General,
yeah, huge. Yeah,
Boomer Sooner. Yeah.
Oh, of course. But of course, guys, we have to talk about one of the main events of this pay-per-view. Behind me was the man who sold out the Nutter Center in Dayton, Ohio. And, you know, the funny thing, again, JB, is like with the Bret Hart redemption, we all talked about this. But Hulk Hogan, one of those lies that he told actually happened during the WrestleMania 9 YouTube special on the Peacock that just happened this year. That, you know, they needed Hulk Hogan to sell out Las Vegas. So, of course, Hulk Hogan, with that swelled head, knows that he can, you know, command the money and all that stuff for the Nutter Center, command the gate, whatever the case may be for Dayton, Ohio. But he is coming into this match as the heavyweight champion of the world to defend against Yokozuna. And again, you know, if we did not have, you know, social media, if we did not have the Twitters and all that stuff, you realize, TW, what they would be saying about Yokozuna after WrestleMania 9. He's buried. He's done. He should go to WCW and all this stuff. Or he should.
Are you talking about Hogan? Or you talking about Hogan? Sorry.
I'm talking about like Yokozuna after WrestleMania 9. And I'm talking about like if we had the Twitters and we had the social media and all that stuff. But TW, it's kind of funny because, again, we don't have that. Maybe David Meltzer is saying something on the dirt sheets, but again, there's no traction just yet. So Yokozuna is protected from, you know, what it was considered bad booking to have him lose the title in less than 30 seconds to Hogan at WrestleMania 9. You want to talk about redemption? Yokozuna got redemption and domination and an execution on pay-per-view television against Hulk Hogan. What say you, TW, about Yokozuna's redemption, in my humble opinion?
Yokozuna's redemption? I just didn't realize they dropped the ball bringing Hogan back, period. And we're like, let's get it back on Yoko. And who better than Hogan to say it was his idea? It's better for me to win it from him and lose it back to him instead of Bret. So I think what I'm stunned to find out is I'm scrolling through here. So fun fact for you guys. Do you know the very first WrestleMania that did not have an Intercontinental title match on it?
The very first WrestleMania 6.
12. WrestleMania 6. Is Hogan versus Warrior, jackass.
That was never title for title.
Yes,
was it?
It was.
Professor, was that title for title? Okay.
It's 12. And one of the WrestleManias I just looked at, I had no idea Yokozuna was a babyface. He lost a 6-man tag.
You never knew he was a babyface?
I had no clue.
Yeah. I want to know who was the Intercontinental Champ at WrestleMania 12.
You was wrestling TW in 1996 when Yokozuna was a babyface.
It was in 96. Wow. Yeah.
Well, who was the Intercontinental Champ at WrestleMania 12, by the way?
I don't know. He wasn't on the show. There was no championship match there.
Professor, who was it? You would know.
Well, that was after Razor Ramon was leaving because he was always hogging the Intercontinental title.
Is it Marty?
So.
No.
It probably would have been Mark Merrow, Triple H, kind of like trading it back and forth. Mark Merrow and Triple H were the Intercontinental champions in 1996. I remember that.
I know Triple H was. So why the fuck was it not defended? That's weird. I gotta look that up. Thanks for that fact.
Who cares? We're talking about King of the Ring. Yo, motherfuckers, just keep doing this to me. But anyway, JB, what say you about Yokozuna's actual redemption at King of the Ring, defeating Hulk Hogan, decimating Hulk Hogan, and all that stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Bret Hart wasn't the only one that got screwed there at WrestleMania 9. Yokozuna also got screwed. I mean, this is his first title win, first championship win, and he has about a 5-minute reign until Hogan goes and pulls his creative control card. But basically, Yokozuna got his clap back here. So good for Yokozuna.
Yeah, it's good for Yokozuna. And again, the way he had to, Hulk Hogan had to be protected, if you will, with Harvey Whippleman acting as the supposed photographer to use the flaming Kodak camera.
Harvey Whippleman as the disguised cameraman. But I mean, I'm really shocked that Hogan allowed this match to end this way. Not the camera flames, but Yokozuna dropped a big leg on him, crushed him, then Banzai dropped him. And all this is 100% Hogan's idea. And this is not coming from Hogan's book where it's probably bullshit. This is coming straight from Bruce Pritchard's mouth saying Hulk Hogan went to Vince and said, this is what I want to do. So I thought that was crazy. But also at the same time, maybe Hogan thought like, hey, this leaves an opening for me to come back. Believing on that note, I don't know. But I do know, like, if we're talking about aftermath, Hogan didn't leave the company right after this. He did a European tour. I think he went to Japan first. I don't know if you guys know this. I want to say maybe a month from now, I think, or maybe July 1993, Hogan went to Japan and had a match with Great Muta. And he said, you know how they have the press conferences. It was Wrestling Donkatu 1993. That was the pay-per-view or event or whatever. Afterwards,
May of 93, where he actually said that this was a trinket. The WWF trinket.
He had the WWF title. Actually, you're right. It's prior to King of the Ring. You're right. It was May of 93. He called the WWF title a fucking toy and said the only title that matters in this world is the New Japan, the NJPW title. Bruce Pritchard said, because they asked him, was Vince pissed? And he said, no, everyone was cool. It was in Japan. It wasn't on TV. No one knows. The internet wasn't a big thing. They asked JR the same question. JR was like, Vince McMahon was fucking pissed. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I would have to only imagine Vince McMahon would be highly fucking pissed.
How do you find out?
How do you find out? I don't remember how he. No, you know what? Well, Meltzer reported, like Dirt Sheets reported it, but it did make the rounds. I believe if you go on YouTube, you'll find videos of that interview. Don't quote me on that. The match is definitely on YouTube.
McMahon had ears in the wrestling industry thanks to Meltzer, who gave him that information. And thank God that technically you did not have. Well, tape traders knew this, first of all, but tape traders were at a premium. Maybe 10% of the audience was the hardcore tape traders, so they knew that. But it wasn't as big. It wasn't a big scandal, if you will, TW. So I'm just giving you that answer on that.
Also, I think at the time, Vince was trying to do business with Japan because everyone knows Japan. There's big money. And I believe Hogan made that statement. Again, only Hogan knows why he made that statement. I believe Hogan in his head was like, yo, if shit actually doesn't work out with WWE, I have New Japan in my back pocket. Because Hogan in his book said his biggest paydays were like at that time was always Japan. They would pay him crazy amounts of money, just 6 figures for one appearance. Again, I don't know if this shit is true. It's fucking Hogan, but I would believe so because we've always known New Japan to be like where the money's at. So
you don't ever hear them deny it and say that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. TW, what say again? Put a bow on this with Yokozuna and Hulk Hogan and all that stuff.
I like you and me both agree. By this time, we're all done with Hulkamania. We are no longer Hulkamaniacs. This is
since Royal Rumble '92. Honestly, for me,
right. This is 2 years. Well, since the Warrior, ever since the Warrior, I didn't need Hogan no more. Right?
nah,
But,
I still like them, like Slaughter.
So I'm looking at my toys right there. Right? I'll tell you what. Honestly, I think when my Hulkamania started waning, it was way earlier than what we're saying. When Hogan would come out and he'd have white and red, or if he come out and he had powder blue, if he came out and, and every now and again he had the red and yellow. Once he went full-time red and yellow, same outfit every day, he became so generic that I did not like him. And the figure that I have on display is the Hulk or Gina Mania red shirt where he's wearing powder blue tights and boots with red knee pads. And it looks so much better than that red and yellow shit, which I always thought Juicy Fruit. He looked like a pack of Juicy Fruit when I saw him. That's when I started thinking. And then you got the Warrior.
That outfit is from what year, TW?
I think
85.
It's 84, 85. Yeah. The world title looks like the Tully TV title. The WWF.
The Arn TV title, JB. Don't worry.
No, it's the Tully. But anyways.
Greatest TV champ ever.
The reason I brought up all that stuff is I love that Yokozuna, not only did he just destroy him, yes, there was the camera flash, which was Harvey Whippleman. He did that. They never referenced it at all ever again as to why he lost. Jack Tunney's in the back congratulating him. It's almost like, screw that guy. This is our champ.
And Vince made sure he didn't slam Yokozuna.
Yep, he tried, and he didn't.
And he kicked out of the leg drop.
Yes, only person to do that, as far as I can remember, up at this point was Sid.
Luke, or Warrior. No, Warrior moved.
Yeah, Warrior Sid moved. Kicked out of it.
Sid didn't kick out. He kicked out at 3. As soon as the 3 hit, he kicked out.
Yeah, he lost to it. That was that mess up because of Godfather, who was
true.
But the legitimate pay-per-view match was Yokozuna actually kicking out of the leg drop. And one more thing, I'll put a bow on this, because the only thing I liked about the Hogan Yokozuna match was when Hogan was being introduced, Kevin Dunn, Mr. Beaver himself, had some glimpses of brilliance. That visual of Hulk Hogan, looking at the crowd, but then you saw the Tron right next to Hogan on the right, and Yokozuna just looking. It was like that nice visual right there. It was a great shot. Like, Kevin Dunn, Mr. Beaver, he did have some glimpses of brilliance, and I just wanted to say that. But we also got
Pritchard was probably producing at this point?
No, Kevin Dunn was the head director. With all the visuals and the camera angles and all that stuff. Pritchard was doing the producing of the matches too. He was doing with Pat Patterson. He was part of that committee and shit like that with Vince, Pritchard, what was it, Patterson, and then you infiltrated with Cornette in the later years.
And I think they had Jerry. What's the dude's name?
Jerry Jarrett.
Jerry Jarrett. Yeah.
And all that stuff.
But,
and remember, Vince was going on trial too with the steroids and shit like that. So
I think they had just named Linda. I think right after this or right before this event, they just named Linda as the new president of the company.
Yeah,
or CEO, whatever.
Yeah. But we got to talk about, again, this is almost a continuation, if you will, reflectionize of the greatest heel turns with Crush, because it proves my point again. He gets the Intercontinental title shot against HBK Shawn Michaels. Was this a 5-star Meltzer Classic? No. But how many times did Vince have to make him look like a doofus? Not one, but 2 doinks made Crush look like an idiot. And he lost. And the one thing I say, as nitpicky as I am, was the way that Shawn Michaels beat him. That turnbuckle should not have been there. It should have been a steel, the steel part, the turnbuckle should have been taken off. So this way you can protect Crush. JB, do you agree with that assessment? You have a different take on that match.
I'm shocked that I didn't think you guys would bring this up, but bro, that finish made Crush look like a freaking idiot. It literally reminded me of like a cartoon finish. The way the super kick was beautiful, Shawn, the super kick, but the way Crush, this is why Crush couldn't have been the guy. The way his head hit off that turnbuckle, like that, Crush did a terrible job of that sell, and that should have not, like you said, if they exposed it now, beautiful. but it's a regular turnbuckle. You got to hit 100 million times by a turnbuckle. That shouldn't be good enough for a finish. The doink stuff I was okay with. I get that. They're coming off of a feud or whatever. 100% get that. The finish, though, was they should have did the super kick into the exposed turnbuckle, like you said, or just a super kick, crush turns around, gets a super kick to the face, and call it 1, 2, 3. But that was a hokey-ass finish.
TW, put a bow on the Shawn Michaels Crush match.
Crush just didn't have it, dude. It's just and 2 joints coming out and he goes, oh, no, the fuck here. And then I think he got drop kicked into the turnbuckle and then just got pinned. It's sloppy, it's sad. And he looked like, what did I say? He looked like a bigger version of the 1, 2, 3 kid or whatever. Like you couldn't take him serious. That's why I liked him.
Shit, I could see that.
I liked them as whatever the hell him and Adam Bomb were called, Chronic. I liked them as Chronic because they looked like they would beat your ass. This guy looks like he would hug you and try to touch you if no one's looking.
Shaka, bro.
He was hugging babies and kissing girls and all that stuff.
Can I say though, JB, 10-year-old JB watching this, the match was whatever. I was more intrigued with freaking Diesel because and Professor, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this is Diesel's first pay-per-view. The first time we're seeing him on pay-per-view. I don't know if it's the first time we're seeing him ever. I don't think so though. But first time on
WWE TV, yes. It's the first weeks.
I remember they did the interview and they're like, who? I don't forget who did the interview. It might have been fucking Terry Taylor. I don't remember who did the interview. But they're asking like, it was Gene.
Yeah.
So they asked him, who is this? He's like, oh, it's the insurance policy. And I wasn't really watching a lot of WCW, so I didn't know who the hell Vinny Vegas or anything was. But I was like, shit, this guy is huge. And he, Diesel had a good look when he first came in. So I was more intrigued with that and where that was going, more than fucking Crush.
TW, in hindsight, to expound on JB's point, did you see potential in Diesel with the way he looked? Did you think that he was going to be who he became?
No, but I saw potential in him when he was Vinny Vegas. I thought it was a dumb name and the whole Vegas Lounge Act thing, but he had such size and he wasn't terrible in the ring. But putting him with Shawn Michaels is the greatest thing that ever happened to him because he gets a front row seat to seeing Shawn versus Brett, Shawn versus Razor, Shawn versus whoever. And then if you don't get better being around that every night, then good luck. You know? Still, he wasn't the greatest wrestler ever, but he didn't stink the place up when he wrestled. So, and Diesel's such a great name. Like Molly Crew's book, Tommy Lee kept telling them, name the band Christmas Tree. They're like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Christmas Tree?
Listen. And he goes, listen, dude, every time someone hears the word Christmas Tree, they're going to think of our band. And they're like, nah, dude, shut up. So Molly Crew's still a cliche, and it worked out for him. Diesel, I remember when he became Diesel, I was wrestling. Every time I would drive somewhere to wrestle, I would look up and I would see the Diesel sign for gas. And I went, somebody's a fucking genius because you see the word Diesel every time you drive. As a passenger, as a driver, it does not matter. When you look up, you see the word Diesel right on the freeway on a pole somewhere. And every time I thought of that guy. And then the best thing that ever happened to him was him being called Diesel. They would have called him something stupid like Master Blaster or whatever.
The Oz.
Oh, Oz is
TW, do you know how Diesel got signed to WWE?
Shawn called somebody and found out that he wasn't under contract. He was just about to re-sign or something, and then he changed his mind and then just left in the night and went to WWE.
Yeah, Diesel told them he doesn't want to travel. He doesn't want to wrestle anymore. He's going to go back to doing Vegas bouncing.
Yeah.
And they ended his contract, and then I think he literally faxed over the canceled contract to WWE, and they faxed him that same night his new contract, and that's it. He's literally signed like the next day or the same night or some shit like that.
That's right up there with Brian Pillman. That's some. If that doesn't show you the fact that they won 83 weeks in a row is commendable, but if that doesn't show you that Vince McMahon's playing chess and Eric Bischoff was playing checkers, nothing will.
We know one thing for certain: TKO ain't doing that shit now. But anyway, neither here nor there.
TKO or not TKO? Tony Khan. That dude's holding people hostage, man. I heard that Mariah May put out a picture of her in front of WWE headquarters.
Well, again, we are.
It looks
waiting.
like an old picture, though.
We will be waiting for her debut on NXT or maybe Evolve. Who knows? Who cares? But anyway, neither here nor there. But let's talk about the Piece de Resistance, the ending of King of the Ring 1993. Bret Hart overcomes all challenges. His third win. He's giving, his body, he's giving blood, sweat, and tears and all that stuff. He wins with the victory roll up over Bam Bam Bigelow. It was a monumental moment. He's about to be crowned. Gene Okerlund is going crazy, but then out comes the real king of professional wrestling in his eyes, Jerry the King Lawler, because again, he's been saying for weeks prior to King of the Ring that nobody is the true king of wrestling besides me. You did not face me to be the king of the ring and all that stuff. And of course, it's 1993, guys, and the only comeback that Bret Hart can only say is Burger King. And of course, the fans were still gullible enough to chant Burger King to give heat on Jerry the King Lawler. So JB, what say you about the ending? Again, you know about all the behind the scenes stuff and all this stuff. But again, like I said, I'm just talking about as a fan. I knew this is where they were going. Bret Hart and Jerry the King Lawler, king versus king and all that stuff. So what say you about the ending of King of the Ring?
So 10-year-old JB didn't know shit about where they were going because how could I? I was 10 years old. Here's 10-year-old JB was absolutely pissed off about this because I'm like, this is Bret's shining moment here, winning King of the Ring, and now we have this idiot coming in and interrupting it. Not only that, in my 10-year-old,
but that's good as a 10-year-old kid. That's great,
right? That right. So hear me out. In my eyes, Jerry Lawler was a jobber to me. He had just joined the company that same year. Realized I'm 10 years old. I live in New York. I don't know shit about Memphis wrestling. As an adult, awesome. Jerry Lawler is kingdom. I mean, he is royalty. Comes from Memphis wrestling. Has a history past. This is a beautiful feud. It's a consolation to fighting Hogan at SummerSlam. But at least he's gonna get Jerry Lawler, and they're gonna have a feud, and we get that, and then off of that comes freaking Isaac Yankem, who later becomes Kane, and that's another story. But 10-year-old JB absolutely hated the way this happened. By the way, just again to peel behind the curtains, I just want to notate. I remember reading this in the book. Bret Hart said that at this coronation where Jerry Lawler starts attacking him, he said Jerry Lawler, and he thinks it was on purpose, was being stiff as hell. Like when he was hitting him with all the chair and everything. Mm-hmm. It was being very stiff, and when I watched this back, I was looking to see Bret Hart's facial reactions while I was getting hit with the chair and shit, and you could see that he was in fucking pain. There's no
Did you see how he threw the chair on him?
Yeah.
Arms first.
Yeah, which I get. Obviously you should have been like the back. I'm assuming, right? But Bret Hart said when they fought at SummerSlam, he repaid the favor. And he was hitting him with like potato after potato after potato the entire match. So now I have to go back and watch that match to see how Jerry Lawler reacts.
Do you know what text just dropped down on the top of my screen here?
What?
Travis likes to call me Potato Guy for wrestling. And our buddy Matt said the TW specials on the menu tonight for dinner, which is macaroni, shells and cheese, and kielbasa. And I saw the picture, but Travis put potatoes. And as you said that, Matt's text, I just understand why you said potatoes because of TW. LOL. I'll hit you. I'll bust your ass. Stiff. I only hit the people I love.
TW, what say you about the ending?
I'm going to tell you, first of all, you just gloss over so much awesomeness that is Bret Hart on this show, and especially babyface.
How did I gloss over Bret Hart? We talked about it.
Because I'm going to tell you, if you stop cutting me off, I'll tell you, you son of a bitch. So you got Kurt Hennig babyface, Bret Hart babyface. How can they have a match? They did a perfect setup. They had Bret saying he preferred Perfect over Mr. Hughes, and then Mr. Perfect and him in an interview face-to-face, Perfect took it wrong, like Bret thought he was the easy win, and then said, yeah, my dad would beat your dad. And then Bret goes, yeah, well, you didn't win at SummerSlam 2 years ago, did you? And they started a little rivalry right there so that they had heat in their match. And then he gets to the final, and two things that you just omitted. You didn't even want to talk about the greatness that is Bret. The reason, obviously, this is me assuming, but I think it's a safe assumption. The reason he doesn't want Bret to beat anybody with the submission hold is when you beat someone by submission, you might as well release them afterwards. It's a terrible way to lose unless it's a big build-up and Austin passes out, stuff like that. So when they told him you can't win with it, it's because they wanted him to look like the underdog, and he wins with roll-ups. He wins with reversals. He wins with whatever. What he did was he had Razor in the very first match step on his hand, and for the rest of the night talked about he couldn't do the sharpshooter because he couldn't hold the legs.
And he had his fingers taped up
for the second match. Then,
you know what Perfect did in the match?
He slammed his hand into the pole.
And he was like putting it back, trying to
And he
so much
worked
great
his
psychology.
hand, and
Bret Hart had a taped hand after,
and he sold it in every subsequent match. Then you just completely gloss over the fact that Bam Bam hit the headbutt that he hit on Duggan and pinned him for 3 count, and he won. Bam Bam Bigelow was the king of the ring, and then Dave Hebner came out and said, "No, that bitch hit him with a chair. Restart the match," which was weird because normally you would just disqualify the guy. They restarted it, and he hit the victory roll to win the match for his third completely unique finish.
Well, one thing I had in my notes is how the fuck do they always pick and choose when another referee runs? Like we had crazy finishes all throughout wrestling history. How do they always pick and choose
and
when they're going to come out to
the
reverse?
Referee either comes out and says that, or they say the referee's decision is final. That's it.
Also, one last thing I had in my notes: how poetic is it that Dave Hebner comes out here to save Bret and get this match restarted? Also, Dave Hebner at Royal 94 is the one saying Bret won versus the other referee saying Luger won. But at the end of all this, the tragedy is Survivor Series 97, and he's part of the screw job.
The Hebner family tree bewilders Bret Hart. But hey, I did not gloss over this. This is why I have you and I have JB.
You fucking zoomed right past it. You didn't say shit. Glossing over it would be referencing at some point. But
JB,
I remember when the false finish happened, bro. I was fucking raging.
Right.
Like, because they hit the bell and everything. So there was no, nothing.
Wait. 10-year-old JB was fuming at the false finish, or you talking about adult JB? I'm talking about,
when I saw this, like, I think my cousin recorded this, and he gave me the tape like the following week. So I saw this like around the same time.
Bootleg.
But I was pissed. Because I told my cousin, do not tell me what happens. I didn't know Bret Hart won. So when I watched this, I legit thought Bam Bam Bigelow won. And I was like, oh my God. Like they literally gave Bam Bam Bigelow the win. And I don't remember if his music hit, but I know they definitely counted the 3 and they rang the bell. And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw it happen and I'm like, all right, we got a chance.
Well, again, I didn't gloss over. I have my guys here, my brothers in arms, JB and TW, to talk about what they saw in the match. I don't need to do everything. I'm the host. I can mute you, but I don't need to mute you. I just need you to tell me what's going on in the goddamn match. But anyway, neither here nor there. But like I said in the openings, I said this was to legitimize Bret Hart, and this is what happened with King of the Ring. It legitimized him. He did all the stuff. He went through all that perils with his hand and all that stuff. Couldn't do the sharpshooter and won by any means necessary, not like the Muslim way, but by any means necessary to become the King of the Ring and all that stuff. And again, maybe I think, in my humble opinion, no matter I was 16 at this point when I saw Jerry the King Lawler. I knew who Jerry the King Lawler was, and I was not amped for it. You know why I was not amped for it? Because of the presentation of Jerry the King Lawler in WWE. It was not the same as AWA, and it was not the same as Memphis. So all the stuff that
he's old man,
all the stuff. Well, he was old. Yeah, you're right. But all the feuding and all that, let's say blood feud-ish stuff, JB, happened on Memphis TV. And we could do a whole Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler shit via Memphis. In our
the little bit I knew of Jerry Lawler was what I read in PW. You guys remember PWI?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the only little I knew of Jerry Lawler.
I heard earlier today someone was asking me if I ever heard his show. I'd never heard of it until someone asked, have I ever heard of the show called The Sopranos or Breaking Bad?
I never said if you heard of it. I said did you watch it, you cock?
Pro Wrestling Illustrated? Is that what it's called? I was in that magazine, bitch, in results, and I was ranked in the top 500 2 or 3 times.
TW, have you ever heard of a show called Seinfeld?
No, but have you ever heard of this?
Okay, look, that is listen.
Restaurant is awesome.
Hold on. Professor just gave a perfect fucking example. Professor said, "Have you ever heard of Seinfeld? Have you?"
No.
Have you ever watched Seinfeld?
I've never heard of it. How the hell am I going to
Come on, seriously, have you ever seen Seinfeld?
Why would you ever say seriously and ask anyone over the age of fucking 12 if they've heard of Seinfeld?
I'm going to tell you why, because I'm fucking 42 and I've seen one episode of Seinfeld.
But have you heard of it?
Really?
I've never said I've heard. I said, did you see it? Not heard.
I don't know if you've seen this show called not Goodfellas. You're going to ask me that one next. Have you ever seen this show called Sopranos or Breaking Bad? Those were your words.
There are people. I literally just talked to one of my good friends the other day. He's never seen Sopranos.
You've
He's
never
about to
seen
watch for the first
Star
time.
Wars or Harry Potter, dude.
No, I've never.
I'm losing interest in your theatrical opinions. It's a travesty of justice. You know the ones I get healed on for the most for not seeing? I didn't see The Breakfast Club until 2014. I still have not seen Goonies. I still have not seen Goonies.
Classic.
And some movies someone asked me the other day if I ever saw. I grew up in Detroit.
Have you ever seen Showgirls?
Who?
Showgirls.
Hell yeah, dude. Jesse Spano, dog.
She got too excited. All right, I'm waiting for Tina. I'm waiting for Professor to fucking break us up here. I want to see how long you let us go.
I'll let you.
I'm waiting to hear him say decorum, people, decorum.
We're on hour 2.
Number one, decorum, but number 2, you know.
Did you say you wanted to be done by 7?
I'm not trying to gloss over. I'm trying to give you all respect. But anyway, let's put a bow.
Next game? It's 7:15. Are we missing the next game?
Shut the fuck up.
But anyway, let's put a gloss.
I hope fucking OKC absolutely obliterates fucking
Indiana
Pacers. And that's for you, Jargo, if you're listening. That's for you, Joey, if you're listening. And to all the fucking other Pacer fans. Brian
I want the
Quinones.
team to beat my team to win the championship every time.
Not me.
Wait. Can we end the show, really? Can we end the show, please? Because
I just want to say, just the aftermath coming off of this, and this is actually a good episode to also listen to this and the what ifs with Bret Hart. But as the story goes, and like Bret Hart, even though he won the King of the Ring, he is still not fucking happy, and he finds out his contract is coming due, I believe September of '93. So Vince obviously offers him a lucrative contract. And also a part of that deal, Bret Hart asked that he wants to have the rights and the ownership of the name Hitman, which he has. And also the agreement was made that Bret Hart was going to be allowed to step away every now and then to do movies and TV, which if you've seen Lonesome Dove, we know why that never came to fruition. He was terrible on Lonesome Dove. But anyway, that was just to wrap a bow on the aftermath of this.
And that's why we did a what if on Bret. If Bret moved to WCW in 1992 and all that stuff. But
so after you're done listening to this, go and listen to that.
Very good plug right there. But anyway, TW, let's put a bow on this. Kind of do a what if with TW and what if with JB. Well, I'm going to start with TW first. If Bret Hart did not win this King of the Ring, who in this roster would you justify being the inaugural King of the Ring if it's not
Mr.
Bret Hart?
There's only one.
Mr. Perfect.
Mr.
Yes.
Perfect?
I thought you said TW. Did you say JB?
No, I said DW.
Yeah. It's Mr. Perfect. It's not even close.
Really? With the bad back and all that stuff? I guess we're in hindsight.
He's probably the 3rd greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah. All right, JB, you? What say you?
There is only one answer here.
Razor?
Mr. Hughes. No, I'm kidding. Razor Ramon is the answer.
If you
here.
want there not to be a second King of the Ring, then yeah, absolutely.
I love Mr. Perfect. Trust me, I do. But Razor Ramon, that's how he gets his shot to fight whoever, like Bret Hart or whoever the fuck. Eventually, he gets his shot, and that may be a path to how he gets the world championship. With that being said, here's a plug to the what if. What's his name? Scott Hall / Razor Ramon winning the title. We'll listen to that too.
Thank you, JB, for the plug right there. But ends with that being said, wait.
What's your answer?
My answer?
Yeah,
I would actually go with Razor Ramon. I think I would shock the world and have Razor Ramon get the rocket push, being the first inaugural King of the Ring.
I have one question.
It'd be a coup to beat the former world champion Bret the Hitman Hart. It'd be a coup.
It'd have to be in the final though.
Well, if you want to shuffle it, I'm just going with the way it was. It would be a coup to beat the greatest Intercontinental Champion at that time, Mr. Perfect, and of course, it would be a coup to get Bam Bam Bigelow, who had a bye to the finals and all that stuff. You actually get Razor Ramon into immediate main event status and maybe into the world title picture quicker, and probably be the first to get the world title before Diesel, in my humble opinion.
I do have a question.
He wasn't.
I do have a question for you guys, but before I ask that question, I see TW's point because if Razor was to win this King of the Ring, he'd have to do it as a babyface because having this first pay-per-view and having a fucking heel win, everyone's gonna be like, "What the fuck?" The audience is gonna be like, "What the hell?"
It could be the maturation of turning into a face, shaking the hand of Bret Hart, shaking the hand of Mr. Perfect, and winning clean and not cheating.
That's his redemption from losing the 1, 2, 3 Kid.
That could be too.
Now, here's my question to you guys: is there any whether you say Bret shouldn't have won or should have won? Is there anybody that should have been added to this tournament that was not?
Doink.
That should have been, and maybe even won.
Doink.
Shawn Michaels had a match with Great Crush already, and I think it was to protect him more than anything.
Kid. Yeah, we agreed that match shouldn't have happened.
1, 2, 3 Kid. 1, 2, 3 Kid is who I was thinking. Yeah,
DiBiase.
Yeah,
he had a match here, but it didn't matter.
He was in a tag team. That's why. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Duggan's in there, but I would take out Duggan. I would take out Mr. Hughes. I would put in Kidd and Michaels.
Okay.
Is Hunter there yet?
No, not there.
Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, it's hard to remember who was there.
With that being said, we close on this episode 194, Donnie Day 1. We're getting close. 6 episodes away before JB and TW host the elusive 200th episode, and I'm just telling and all that stuff. So, JB, with that being said, plug all your shit so this way we know where to get those HVAC air conditioning units.
First of all, I can be reached on Twitter at THEP1JB. That's at the P1JB. I can also be reached on Facebook, J Bashrula. I'm on the PW Hustle group. I'm in HAMIN Media group. I'm in pretty much every fucking group possible. I'm in Knicks Nation. Go Knicks.
Well, they're going golfing.
Going to Cancun.
And TW, with that being said, give out those socials so we can get out of here.
Oh, you can follow us at what the hell? Oh, what the hell? The Pro Wrestling. I took a pill. The Pro Wrestling Coalition Network sponsors us at PWC Network at podbean.com, where HAMIN Media Group at podbean.com is also found, as well as at channelattitude.com. Our show is at PW Reflection. Travis, I spent an entire 4 days with him. Picked him up from the airport Friday, dropped him off this morning. He can be found at Nuts and VOELTZ PW, Nuts and Bolts PW, Travis Volts. Big Ray you can find all over the internet at Big Ray Hernandez, and every Wednesday live on YouTube at the Next Level Podcast. My Instagram and my X is at TommyWonder19, Snapchat's #Wonder, Facebook.com/TommyWonder. And my other X and TikTok are at the Tommy Wonder. Big Vito and Noel can be found at the Big Vito brand on TikTok. You don't stop. And you can find a video of this on at Pro Wrestling Reflection. Prof? Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
No, I think it's short for Professor.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't have it written down wrong. Right.
Don't worry about that. You can do the Ray Hernandez one. It's all right. I give you permission.
Well, what is this at Pro Wrestling Reflection? What is that? It's prof, though. It's at prof at the end, right?
Yeah. Don't worry about that. But anyway, thank you, TW. 8 years and you still keep fucking up the outros. But anyway, you can find me on my Twitter at PWSOPROF. That's PWSOPROF. And of course, this will also get uploaded onto my YouTube channel, which is PWSOPROF, PWSOPROF at Pro Wrestling Reflection, if you will. That's the logistics and all that stuff. Follow my brothers in arms, 8-Track Brown, the dirtiest of the city, at the number 8, TRAC Brown. And of course, Billy Ray Valentine at OB1, you know me. And of course, you know what? I'm going to give my guys a little bit of a gift. Maybe I'm giving myself a gift. I'm going to take a week off. I'm going to recharge the batteries. And in 2 weeks, maybe we'll go episodic. Maybe we'll do a rivalries. Maybe we'll do a what if. Or maybe I'll get JB's ass and haze him correctly and we'll do a movies edition because he is due to do a movies edition.
Why are we taking off?
Because we need to rest. I need to rest.
Got it.
That's all.
Listen, I'm thankful. You I made a request to do King of the Ring 93. You did, so I appreciate it. Whatever you want to go with next. I'd love for it to be some kind of old school pay-per-view of WCW because I've never seen a lot of those, but whatever you want, I'm down with.
That's why
I was going to tell you that I can't do next week because I'm going to my first ever Nerd Car event.
What's Nerd Car?
The fuckers that drive left turns in circles all day.
I have ESPN. That's what it is. I just knew what was going on. That's why I'm giving everybody
iPods on the cars or
Well, it doesn't matter.
Finity,
It doesn't matter.
Earnhart Jr.
Shut up. It doesn't matter.
I never heard of
Now
that.
I'm glossing over.
What was your favorite part of Showgirls?
It doesn't matter anyway. Anyway,
kills
I'm the professor. That's Mr.
Oh, he like beat the shit out of her, right?
The Iron
That was
Stomach
crazy.
One and the
what?
two-time Hall of Famer.
He's like Michael Bolton.
You're right. He did look like Michael Bolton.
And the prodigal one, JB said.
It was a good movie,
night,
though.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks when we come back with the PWR podcast at the HAMIN Media Group at podbeam.com. Peace. Motherfuckers, you are not going to get me on one that.
Get to that next game.